Okay, there we go. Okay, let me get back. These are the 5 C's: character, capital, capacity, conditions, collateral. And this goes for the whole scope pretty much of all finances. Your character, what is your history of paying your bills and your debts in a timely manner? Capital, the amount of money you as the borrower have available to use. Capacity, what's your debt to income ratio? What's your earning capacity to be able to pay it back? Conditions, these are the rates, and that's really a big deal. How much you can borrow at what rate, a favorable rate. So all of it hinges pretty much on character and, the paying of bills. I almost hate that character because it sounds internal, and that's not what it is. It's a history. It's not you. It's just your history, and it can turn around. It's like a report card. It's a snapshot, but it's not necessarily who you are. And so I kind of hate that C, but it's there. That's what it is. That's what financial institutions, they're using it. And collateral, these are the assets that can be used as security for a loan. And these are the 3 majors: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And potential lenders will go there, see what's reported to them, and make their lending decisions based on what they find. You may remember that there was a huge breach. It was with Equifax, and 45 million people, 45 million, yes, people, their finances and their credit report, sensitive information such as your social security number, credit card information, all of that was exposed. Supposedly they made upgrades and things like that. And because of that, I encourage people to make sure you make sure everything is right and good. And it was such a sad thing because it didn't have to happen. They chose not to spend the money on their security, and the government caught them up short because of that. This is great. You can get a free credit report every 12 months. However, due to the pandemic, they extended it. You can get a free credit report from all 3 every week. Every week until, and they had put a limit on it till this month, December 2022. I just went on their website, and now it's till further notice. So you can get it every week from all 3, which is a great way to make sure your everything on it is correct, everything on it is right. That's just another tool in your tool belt. Make sure you're doing that. And while you're doing it, please, please, please check your children's credit. Check your children's credit. A lot of hackers and thieves, they want that pristine credit. And there's a way that we can do that. We'll talk about that later on, about how you can protect it, but it really is important. So go to annualcreditreport.com. And
I have a question. Sorry,
sure.
I have a question. I've never heard of the annual credit report, so I'm going to assume that's been vetted and everything.
Yes. This is the only one sanctioned by the federal government.
Okay, because in the past I've been able to request through the bureaus individually, but this is a different.
You can still do that, but you can get it all 3 bureaus through annualcreditreport.com. This is a federal website. Okay, and it is policed heavily, which is wonderful, very secure. And all 3, you can get rather than having to go to all 3, you can access all 3 through this annualcreditreport.com. Yeah, absolutely. Reviewing your credit report at least once a year, making sure the information is accurate. It'll really help you prevent and detect identity theft or inaccurate information that will need to be addressed. And every time you check your report, it will not affect your score. You can check it as much as you want. It will not affect your score because it is not an inquiry. And this is something I tell people, that report is yours. It doesn't belong to just the agent. They make you pay for it, but it is still yours. It belongs to you. Check it as much as you want to. And these are the things I really, really need you to look for. Look for late payments, delinquencies, high debt to income ratio, or a debt to credit limit ratios. So if you're constantly maxed out on your credit cards, what we want you to do, just like we said last week, I need you to pull those down to at least 30%. Give yourself some wiggle room in case you do get an emergency. Any debt collections, charge-offs, anything that has been written off, make sure it's correct. Judgments, liens, bankruptcies, repossessions, foreclosures, evictions, any active accounts that you closed or never opened, make sure they are yours. Make sure you're looking for any wrong names, misspellings, middle initials. There's a lot of mix up with those. These credit bureaus are run by people, by flawed human beings who can make a mistake. So you're looking at that. Be particularly mindful if you're a senior, a junior, a third, or if you have a very common name. My college roommate looked at her credit report. We were entering the workforce, and a woman with the exact same name, middle initial, but only 25 years older, had horrible credit, and they merged it somehow with her credit report. And this was back in the days with snail mail. So she had a lot of back and forth to clean it up. But the birth dates, I mean, clearly they were wrong because it was such a big, 2.5 decade span. So, but still look at it, because you could have your fathers, your mothers, anybody, if you have the same name within the same family. Check it and make sure all of the previous addresses are correct and they're yours. And so these things will help you identify errors, because there can be errors. I'm telling you, it's just like anything else. Be proactive and make sure it is yours and your information alone. This is what's on your report: personally identifying information, your social, your address, your employment history, anything that identifies you as you, address, your present and previous addresses, all of your credit information account, everything from Kohl's to Visa, MasterCard, Amex, all that stuff. All of the public record information is on there as well. And inquiries, hard and soft, and we'll go through what a hard inquiry is and what a soft inquiry is. These things are not on your report. Your checking and savings account information. There was a bill to help people with their credit report and their score. They were going to add this as part of your credit reporting, what's in your accounts, but it stalled, and so it's not part of that yet. But there was still some scuttlebutt that your checking and savings account information might be available on your credit report, but apparently that was scuttled. Medical or psychiatric history is not on your credit report. Your race, your gender, religion, national origin, or political preference. Please, that is not on there. You can look for it yourself. There's a lot of misinformation about your credit report, and I just wanted to clear that up. Who looks at your report? Creditors, current and potential employers, landlords, potential creditors, government licensing agencies, insurance underwriters, some colleges and universities. Some employers, if you handle money, they will absolutely look at your credit report. If you are employed by police or state or anything like that, they will look at your credit report. There was a young man put himself through college, did very, very well. Put himself through police academy, graduated the whole bill, but could not get a job as an officer because his score was so low. And so you always want to make sure with a potential employer, are they looking at it and what are their parameters? What are their requirements? And so he really had to fix his credit before he could get a job as a policeman because of potential, fraud or blackmail or anything like that. And so they really look at that, especially if you're going into CIA, FBI, anything like that. So they are looking at your credit reports and colleges too. So that's why I really encourage you to look at your kids' credit report. This is a length of time that things stay on. Positive information, hallelujah, stays on indefinitely, forever and ever, amen. Wonderful. Hard inquiries, that's not a negative action, but it can ding you and it might stay on there for up to 2 years, anywhere between 6 months to 2 years. And multiple hard inquiries for credit cards or personal loans can ding your score just a few points. But if you're teetering between fair and good, 5 points can really make a difference. So you want to make sure if you're doing multiple inquiries, like if you're, applying to buy a car, getting a new home or anything like that, make sure all your inquiries stay within a 45-day period. That way it's just counted as one instead of a whole bunch over time. Delinquencies, past due accounts, and late payments can stay on for up to 7 years, even if they're paid off. But the good news is this, remember I told you, your credit report is yours. You can add notes to it. They do read these. You can absolutely add a note to it indicating that you've paid off a loan or it was someone else's or something like that. Any mitigating factor to help you get a loan or get it at a better rate, you can do that. Bankruptcies, Chapter 13 stays on for 7 years. Chapter 7, 11, or 12, 10 years. Foreclosures up to 7 years. I'm going to say something about foreclosures. I had a friend who went through, her and her husband went through a foreclosure. However, staying diligent, working with it, and she added all these notes to her credit report. They were able to buy a home again and get a really good loan within 5 years. So it's not fatal, not at all. Charge-offs, credit cards, 6 months past due will stay on for 7 years, even after the credit card company charges it off. Student loans, federal student loans, I want to say not private, federal, will stay on your credit report until they're paid off, no matter how long. You can note deferments and forbearances or any unreported payments. If you've paid and it's not caught up on your credit report, make sure you tell them, hey, look, I've been paying, particularly if you find an error. Federal school loans will not go away only if the borrower goes on 100% disability or if you qualify under the loan forgiveness program, but only, unless the loan forgiveness goes through, less than 1% are eligible for loan forgiveness. Your credit score, like I said, is just like a report card. It can go up, go down, depending on what you do with it. And so it can influence the credit and how much you can get and under what terms. So it's just a snapshot for potential lenders to look at and see what your score is to decide whether they want to give you a loan or at what terms. So it's just that quick snapshot. Your score, listen, will not be the same with all 3 bureaus. They'll be in the same neighborhood, but not in the same house, which is why, like if you're buying a home or a car, they will use a tri-merge. They will get your score from all 3, merge it, and then take the average. And so the highest and the lowest will be eliminated, and the middle score will be used. So again, that's the tri-merge, but all 3 will be different. So don't be shocked, because they use different scoring models. Some use FICO, some use a different model. There are a lot of different factors, even though they come close. Okay. Oh, went back. Okay, so this is what the range looks like. Anywhere from 300 to 850. Creditors, they set their own standard at what is a good score. FICO scores, usually over 700 to 720, are considered really good. And you'll probably get very favorable loan terms or get your loan. If it's on the lower end, it's not impossible. You'll just have to pay more for it. And this is a big deal, a really, really big deal. So looking at the left, you'll see credit score from high to low. And look at the right, the first column with the red in there. So this is based on a 60-month loan, 5 years. Same loan, 25 grand, you're borrowing $25,000 to buy a car. So if you have a higher score, your in total interest will only be $3,000, meaning it's going to bump you up to $28,000 to pay off your car. Down below, look at the lower score. Your interest is $12,000, almost 13. So that means for the same exact vehicle, same 60 months, you're paying $37,000. So this is the advantage of it. Most people will fall somewhere in between, but there's a big advantage of really making sure your credit is tight and right. Maintaining good credit is not mysterious or complicated. And so I boiled it down because I really believe it's easier to understand with just a few points as opposed to all the stuff I had to study to become a counselor. And so this is it. This is it. Just pay stuff on time, every time. Easy, easy peasy. Get current on missed payments will give you a bump up in your score. And don't take on new debt if you can't. If you possibly can't, please don't take on new debt. If your car breaks down, that's fine. Get a Hyundai instead of a Tesla. Just make sure you're managing what you can take on and what you can't. And pay your balances down to 30%. Believe it or not, that'll give you a bump. It will bring your score up somewhat. And over time, over months, you'll see it go up as you're keeping your balances low. Missed payments, this will decrease your score. Paying after the due date, carrying a high debt to income ratio. Don't let so much of your income go to your debt unless you're paying it down, which totally understand, because then it affects you positively. Or constantly carrying high balances on your credit cards. And sometimes it's just, you have to have that hard conversation about Christmas. We're coming up on Christmas. And I think over COVID, we found out we don't need as much. Our lives are happy and fulfilled without a whole bunch of stuff. And so that is a thought. And have those conversations with your kids. Let them know that money does not grow on trees, that you work for it. And that I really believe in that, involving kids in that, not to the point where they feel burdened, but just so they have an understanding and making it age appropriate. You can dispute wrong information on your credit card. And I sent to Aaliyah, and I believe I sent to Christina too, letters and a packet where your dispute information and all the links and where all that stuff is. You do have to make sure that you do it in writing. Tell the credit reporting agency in writing the information that you think is inaccurate. And this is what it looks like. Your name, your address, your city, just the information. They don't want to hear about all that you've gone through and, my husband left me and, my kid is crazy. They don't want to hear all that. They just want to know what it is, how much it is, and what you're disputing. Never send in your original. Keep your original documentation, but send them copies. Send them a copy of your credit report circling the wrong information and just exactly what is inaccurate on there. And it has to come back to you within, I think it's 30 days, you have to be answered. So again, disputing, sending copies, not originals. of documents that support your position. Enclose a copy of your report with the question items in question circled. And this is a good idea. Send it return receipt requested. That way they have to sign for it. And I know it's $2 more, but it's worth it to make sure they got it, because you can keep track of it. And always keep copies of everything. Just a poll. How many reporting agencies do you think there are? Just shout it out.
I'm scared to answer that question.
Because you know it's a trick question, right?
It is. 17.
It is. More than that.
I really thought there were only like 4. So wow.
No. This is going to knock your socks off. There are over 50. 50 credit reporting agencies. And they are industry specific. What information do they have? They have, you've seen the little sign, Telecheck. That's a credit reporting agency. They keep tabs on your bank account, how many checks you've bounced, how many times you've been overdraft, how many fees have been incurred. They keep that. And there's several with and a lot of banks look at that to determine whether they want to open an account for you. Apartment rentals. Yes, landlords have their own specific one. What kind of a tenant are you? Are you constantly non-payment? A lot of forgiveness was over the pandemic, so they don't count that last year of 2021 as a wash. But just give you an example, my dad's neighborhood, everybody pretty much owns their home, but right next to him, his neighbors moved and they rented it out. And the people they rented it out to got behind and they were evicted. And before they left, they took a sledgehammer to every wall in that house, smashed it to bits, smashed the plumbing. And when they left, they turned on every faucet in the basement, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, all of that. And I don't know what they were thinking, because, your landlord has all of your information. And so they can file criminal charges, and they did, because even though my dad's house was up a little bit, he didn't get affected by it. But down below was a barbershop, and they lost business because the barbershop flooded. And so, I know that's kind of an extreme example, but they do. How you leave a place? Did you leave it dirty? Are you nasty? There's a lot of, and landlords will look at that and say, no. Car insurance have their own. They don't just pull your rates out of the blue. How many accidents have you had? Near misses? How many traffic tickets? Are you a good risk? Homeowners, renter insurance claims. Do you have a lot of claims? Employment, that's huge. Do you have a lot of no-shows? Did you ghost your job? Did you just leave people high and dry? So there are over 50 medical records and payments. Now, you're not going to show up on all 50 because some of them don't apply to everyone. But just like your regular, you can get every year you can get a free report. And I put that in the packet. I put the link you could go to see the list of all of them, what they do and who they are. And over COVID, there was a new one. And this was a shocker to me. But, then again, I'm not surprised. I used to be a store manager. I don't know if you've ever heard of Steinmart. I was a store manager, and then I was a manager for Kohl's, an assistant manager. And returns cost more money than shoplifting. Returns, because you not only have to take it back, it has to touch hands, have to be relabeled, repackaged, put back out on the floor. So it touches hands 6 times, and that's a lot of money payroll. And so return companies like Amazon, Best Buy, all of that, they formed a new consumer reporting agency about people who return too much. because of that very reason. If you buy a TV for the Super Bowl and then return it, you best believe your name is going on a list. And Alibaba, Amazon, all these, like, especially if you return electronics, they can choose to say, no, we will not sell to you because chances are you're not going to keep it. TJ Maxx did this years ago for people who have high returns, and they will send a letter saying, if you purchase from them, you are no longer able to return. They'll send it right to your house. They had a couple of women, it was here in North Carolina, who I think by the end of the year, they had bought and returned over $10,000 worth of clothing. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And they said, we clearly see that we are not, the merchant for you, since you do not keep garments. Therefore, we choose not to sell to you. That receipt is a contract. And you say, well, they always have to sell to me. They do not. They do not. If they can prove that you are damaging their business, they don't have to sell to you. So just, that's a cautionary tale. And it's important. And so you can get a free copy, like I said, every 12 months from these. You do need to request them from these companies. There's no central location. So of the 50, you got to go down and get a report from each one of them. So it's a lot of letter writing, but it can be done. This, freezing and thawing your credit. If you go to annualcreditreport.com, it'll give you a breakout into all three of the credit report, or you can just go to Experian, TransUnion, Equifax yourself and freeze your credit. And this will restrict access to your credit report. This is exactly what Life Alert and all of those companies do, and you can do it for free. So if anyone accesses your account doing a soft inquiry or a hard inquiry, now you do want to thaw out your account for a hard inquiry if you're buying a car or something like that, or a house. But other than that, freeze them. There's no reason for you not to have it, especially children. Oh my God. Today, if you don't do anything else, freeze your children's accounts. Freeze it. There's absolutely no reason for anyone to be doing any inquiry on anyone under 18 years old. Absolutely no reason. Get there, freeze it. And it is free. Freezing and thawing is free. And you do have to contact all three individually, but so do that. But please, anyone in your household who's underage, it does have to be done in writing, but it is worth it. And I think it takes, for your account to be frozen, I think it takes 3 days, 72 hours. And to thaw it out, it might take 7 days, but that's okay. You can do that as many times as you want. It is absolutely free. Things you need to know. I talked to you about improving your credit. Remember, debit cards, prepaid cards, and cash do not impact your credit. So it doesn't do anything to it or against it. Use secure credit cards responsibly to improve your credit. This gives you the biggest boost. They are secured. You do have to pay them, but that is how much your credit line is. If you're paying $250, then your credit line is $250. And I would use it for like a small purchase, $25, and pay it off immediately. Do that for a year or two. You will see a nice jump in your credit. Check your credit report, dispute any errors, pay on time, get your utilization under 30%, and don't close out your credit cards without knowing the impact on your credit score. You can do that at your bank. They usually do this for free just as customer service, and don't apply for too much in a short amount of time. Paying them off every month will boost it, and just kind of be patient. Like I said before, give yourself a break, And a word about credit repair. Don't be fooled by advertisers that claim that they can erase negative information from your credit report. Sometimes they use questionable tactics and they can be costly. So why, if you see a sign in the ground, or if you see it wrapped around a utility pole, why would you call them? That's already sketchy. You want to make sure they have a website, that it is encrypted, and everything else like we do. If you go to our website, Ceci Solutions, you will see that little lock. It is closed because we do deal with people's finances and their personal information. But credit repair, I am not a huge fan. Some of them have a really good rating, but again, they're doing what you do. They're going to write letters on your behalf, which you can do. They're going to look for negative information or wrong information, which you can do. And they're going to freeze and thaw, and they're going to charge you for all of the stuff you can do yourself. And the only thing you probably cannot do is a debt management plan. So I go to a good financial institution like us. We do that. We help and we work with you, with your creditors, things like that. But other than that, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. And so I do have a couple of polling questions. And if you would put it in the chat, we have to prove now that we don't have phantom classes. I mean, I never did this, but HUD makes us account for every class. So if you could just kind of put it in the chat, I'll have a record of it. So question number 1, and you could just put 1, 2, or 3. You can get a free credit report from getyourreport.com, annualcreditreport.com, or reportsareus.com. So if you would put that in the chat for me, I would really, really appreciate that. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much. Next one, a credit score of 350 is considered to be what? Good, excellent, or very poor? Again, just put that in the chat for me. A credit score of 350 is considered to be good, excellent, or very poor. Yes, very poor. Excellent. And the first one, but you guys know that was annualcreditreport.com, right? Yes. Okay. Last question. Blanking your credit will restrict access to your information. Thawing, freezing, or boiling? That's kind of a gimme. Thawing, freezing, or boiling? Great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I will stop sharing and take your questions. Was anything unclear? Anything I can answer in addition to it? Please, now's the time. Just shout it out if you want to. Or anything else any other questions you might have, even about budgeting last week or anything about this week.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm kind of stuck on that whole return thing because I like to buy 2 sizes. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and you see something on sale. So then you're like, oh, you get 1 size, it doesn't fit, then you go return it and it's now full price or whatever, so they don't always work with you. Are we talking about like the big things, or is it just
No,
in general?
Just in general, and make sure it's not a high dollar amount like those women at like I talked to you about it with TJ Maxx. If it's just 1 or 2 things and it's not always at the same place, it's generally not a problem. But if you find yourself, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really no problem, no issue. They expect that. And especially when I was at Kohl's, I would schedule people to do returns. So we would come in the morning, do it. And that was built into my budget, to my capital.
Got it.
And so that wasn't an issue. But when you start returning cameras, televisions, iPads, iPhone, they won't take back. But, any electronics like that, it's going to go. It's going to go on a report. And people shouldn't be surprised, those high dollar value.
Is there a way to check like those lists? I'm just curious at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. It should have been in your packet, the address for it. Let me see if I can find it again and put it in the chat for you. Give me 1 second. But yeah, you can go there. Let's see. Let's see. And it's called specialty. CFPB. Yeah, you're going to go to CFPB. Let me see if I can copy this. And you can get a PDF of all of them. It was too big for me to put in, so I just put the link in there. Hold on, let me see where that link is. I think I have it. Oh, I do. Here it is. I'll put all these links in the chat. There, you should have everything. Consumer FTC, so you could look at that, take a screenshot, or just copy them yourself, copy and paste. But the last one where it says consumerfinance.gov, consumer tools, credit reports and scores, consumer reporting, that's the website for the specialty. You can either look at it and go down the list, or you can download a PDF for your own files. So that's who you would go to.
Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And what other questions can I answer for you?
Sorry, you said the chat is where we were answering questions?
Yes.
Oh, I don't see the...
You don't see it? I sent it to everyone. You don't see it in the chat?
I don't. Does anybody else see it?
I don't see it either.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me send it to you one at a time. Heather, direct message. Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, can you see it now? Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, the last one is that one. Annual credit report, there are 3 of them. So the consumer, ftc.gov, annualcreditreport.com, and then the last one are those 50 specialty companies. And that list grows, as different things happen. Tech companies may even have their own. Particularly if you have your own business, you definitely want to check out the specialty reports just to make sure. Okay. And what other questions do you all have? Anything? You are quite welcome. And, you can always get in touch with me or anything like that if you have any questions. And so, yay, we are right on time with 5 minutes to spare. And anything else, just let me know. Let me know for sure. Okay. All right. Y'all take care and you have a great way. Oh, what is my email is kmcneil@CESI.org. kmcneil@CESISolutions with an S on the end.org. Okay. All right, y'all take care. And I'll leave this up for a minute.